"I'm trying to get in touch with Marlon Brando," he barked into the phone for the 8th or 9th time that morning. Once again, he had no luck. Marlon Brando, apparently, didn't want to be found. 3 years after he was kicked out of Sayville, a great deal had happened in Marlon's life and career. He'd been in several shows on Broadway. He was now known to many of the top producers. Yet, for all that, the late summer of 1947 was really not so different from the late summer of 1944. Marlon had climbed high, only to be knocked down once more. This time, instead of the autocratic Piscator, it had been the flamboyant actress Tallulah Bankhead who'd been his adversary. In tryouts for her play Eagle Rampant, Bankhead had disdained Marlon for his idiosyncratic style and vindictively fired him in front of the company. When he walked away from Bankhead's play, he was also, he believed, walking away from the entire enterprise of the theater. No one had seen him for months. His agents, Maynard Morris and Edie Van Cleve, had no idea how to reach him. Liebling wasn't giving up. He felt certain Marlon was the one to play Stanley Kowalski. Both he and Wood had seen the young actor in a play called Truckline Cafe a year and a half earlier, and both had agreed he possessed the intensity and rawness Williams had in mind for the character. Stanley had been conceived as older than Marlon's 23 years. Garfield, who'd been Irene Selznick's first choice, was 34. But there was something about Marlon, and the way he'd let out a blood-curdling cry toward the end of Truckline, that convinced Liebling he was ideal for the part. So he put the call out on the grapevine, as Audrey Wood remembered. Liebling didn't just work the phones. He stopped everyone he knew. He asked people to spread the word. The hope was that some agent would tell some producer, who would tell some audition manager, who would tell some actor, who would tell some bartender, who would tell one of Marlon's pals, who would tell one of Marlon's girls, who would finally tell Marlon himself. And the message being passed from ear to ear? Come to the offices of Liebling Wood. In the old days, before the war, it had been simpler to send a message along the grapevine. Now the city teemed with returning GIs looking for work, and fewer people knew one another. New York was quickly becoming a city of strangers. Tens of thousands of GIs swelled the factories, offices, bars, and nightclubs. Whether the economy could absorb them all was still a matter in question. Some predicted an economic boom bolstered by consumer spending on new manufactures. Others warned that the war had merely interrupted the death throes of capitalism, and at any moment the nation would revert to the economic breakdown of the 1930s. Yet, in the midst of this collision of hope and anxiety, the American theater was experiencing a creative renaissance. Tennessee Williams and Arthur Miller were the vanguard of a post-war generation of young playwrights exploring the human condition in ways far deeper and often darker than ever before. Williams's The Glass Menagerie, opening in late 1944, had revolutionized Broadway by mining the interior landscape of memory and emotion. Until that moment, the American theater, overrun with musicals and melodramas, had seemed to some critics disconnected from the real world, which was racked by war and intolerance. The Glass Menagerie helped change all that. Melodramas were now passé. So were the ubiquitous social message plays of the 1930s. Now the trend was for psychological depth, with actors relying on the text for serious insight. Journeyman playwrights were out. Poets were in. It was just the sort of theater Stella Adler had been pining for. No wonder Liebling thought her star pupil was perfect for it. At the Park Savoy Hotel on West 58th Street, the payphone in the first-floor hallway was jangling. When someone picked it up, they heard Bill Liebling ask if Marlon Brando still lived there. No, Liebling was told, Marlon had left the hotel some time ago, leaving no forwarding address. But the bohemians who still lived there remembered him fondly. There was talk that he'd gone on the road, not with a show, but with a carload of activists fighting for a political cause. From the window of a speeding passenger train, Marlon stared out at the rapidly changing landscapes of Pennsylvania and western New York. Everywhere, it seemed, new housing was going up, guaranteed by federal programs for qualified returning veterans, complete with the latest appliances and the requisite picket fence.